What's up? What's up? What's up? What's up? What's up? It's the Monday morning show. Ryan Hensley, Grant Cohn. Warriors are done. I don't think we have any time to talk basketball, but if we do, we could get to it because me and Ryan still arguing about it. I got a bone to pick with Ryan. But no, we have a lot of Niner stuff. And as always, Trey Lance is in the title to the chagrin of many Niner fans who feel like he overshadows everything. So we're going to save the Trey Lance topics for the end of the show. If you're Trey Lanced out, we're going to start with everything but Trey Lance, and we'll give you a 5-minute warning, and you can leave and do something else, or just we'll say earmuffs, and you can yell and scream in your room and go like la la la. How you doing, Ryan?
I'm good, man. I'm doing really good. Had a good weekend, relaxing. Got the pool open for business.
You have a nice pool. My goodness, it's huge. But you have 4 kids.
Yeah, it's hot as hell out here where I live. You have to.
Oh, okay.
You really
Central
have
Valley. Central Valley for sure.
Well, I'm outside of Sac in a suburb.
For sure. For sure. I don't want people to know because it's like witness protection.
Stalkers.
Trying to be incognito out there with your 4 kids. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. It looked like a nice time.
Yeah,
I was hanging out in my backyard.
It was good. Yeah, it's best money I spent because I didn't want to invest into an in-ground pool. So I bought that pool. It's like a 15,000 gallon above ground pool, and we'll wait for the in-ground pool for the next house.
It's a lot of gallons. The next house, man. That's exciting.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right, let's talk big picture about the Niners before we get into positional battles and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Ryan, what's a successful season for the 49ers? They're coming off back-to-back NFC Championship losses. If they make it to the NFC Championship game a 3rd year in a row and lose, is that, good? If they make it to the playoffs and don't make it as far, is that acceptable? Like, what is the bar for this team now?
I think it depends on your definition of success, right? Like, they go to the NFC Championship game, lose. I don't look at that as successful. If they get to the Super Bowl, yeah, that's great, that's good and everything. But that's, for me, I'm Super Bowl or bust. I grew up. I'm an old head, and I saw 3 Super Bowls myself. There were 5 in my lifetime. So that's the standard for me. So that's the ultimate sign of success for the 49ers. I'm tired of coming up short. I don't think that's an ultimately successful season. It's a good season, but unless you win the thing, that's the goal. That's the thing, is that people a lot of fans nowadays, they hold the 49ers to a lower standard than the 49ers themselves do. Because if you ask Kyle Shanahan or any of the players on the 49ers, what their goal is going into each season is to win 6 Lombardi.
Yeah, and I feel like where they're at, what they've achieved, how long they've been together, I don't care what circumstances happen, what injuries they happen. It is a Super Bowl or bust team. Yeah. And the only thing that's successful is Super Bowl win. I'm not saying if they don't win the Super Bowl, blow it up. That's not what it means. Right. But it means if they fall short, they have to internally approach it as a failure and try to find a lesson that they can learn so they can change. And that's what bugs me about this team, this franchise, is they've been on the cusp for like 4 years, and I feel like they've learned nothing from their failures. In fact, I don't even think they consider them failures. I think they feel they've been unlucky and they just need to stay in the mix and that luck will shine on them eventually, which is just, some people would call that insane, right? Making the same mistake over and over. Mm-hmm. So that's what a successful season is: winning the Super Bowl or losing and learning from it. That's the benefit of losing, is you get to learn, and learning is fun if you do it. But
what fundamental changes have they made in 7 years? What real fundamental changes have they made?
They finally understood the importance of DBs who intercept passes. That was recent.
Yes.
All of a sudden, they're bringing in guys with ball skills. That's a good one. I like that. But that's defense. Yeah. What about offense? What about your offensive line? What about your quarterback? It's a passing league. Oh, but you don't want to pass like that.
Yeah, I think you're right that I think Kyle Shanahan, particularly, who's steering the ship here, he thinks he's been unlucky with either inadequate quarterbacks or
that he picked,
who's been injured,
that he picked,
no cause of his own, and then if he just
behind his offensive line,
if he just had that quarterback and he was healthy, that they're guaranteed or they're destined to win a Super Bowl. But I think there's a little bit more than that. Obviously, quarterback's the most important position. They still haven't figured that out yet. So that's the biggest problem. But, outside of a Super Bowl victory, it's not a success for me. That's my standard. And I'm pretty sure that's their standard, too, for being real.
You could sell me on either the last two seasons being a success if the Niners learned something valuable, changed something key, and improved from it. You could sell me on that. Like, you could say that the year the Chiefs lost the Super Bowl was a somewhat successful season for them because they learned that the most important position on their team is their offensive line. And they can let Tyreek Hill go. But as long as they have 5 good offensive linemen and Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce, man, they're going to be pretty impossible to beat. They learned that lesson. They fixed their off. They overhauled their offense. They don't have one offensive lineman on their team today that they had in that Super Bowl. But the Niners are still holding on to 2019 like they found some type of formula that worked. No, you still haven't found the formula that worked. That's the problem. You're like Goodwill Hunting at the chalkboard, and you think you figured out the answer. Like, no, you got this one thing wrong right there. Can you find the one piece of code that you messed up? No, not yet.
I'm also wondering if they're learning right now, because it seems to be, correct me if I'm wrong, but doesn't it seem like there's more competition at the wide receiver position this year than there ever has been? Like, with all these guys they're bringing in, I mean, all these young guys that they're bringing in. I mean,
Ronnie Bell.
Yeah, I mean, that was one of my questions with these 49ers is, like, to me, it's like you have one real wide receiver, Brandon Ayuk. Debo's more like a weapon. Juwan Jennings, he's like a possession receiver that you can use every now and then, but
he's almost a tight end. Sorry,
right.
But that's what Tariq Woolen called you.
But there's bringing in so many wide receivers, and we think there's only like how many spots? Like we think, oh, they're obviously going to go Debo, Ayuk, Juwan Jennings, and Ray and Danny, but are they really? Because they're bringing in all these guys. You got Danny Martin, who looks impressive. All these Romello Bell. There's a lot of guys.
Yeah. Niner Grandpa says Grant said running from my live debate. Scared. What? Huh? What world are you living in? Gammon Brown says Niner Grandpa still running from my live debate. I don't understand. Is this an inside joke? Taryn Bam says, I know Trey is ready for the end, but do you think the fans are treating him like this because the last time we had a black quarterback won was the cap situation? There's a lot of aspects to it. Probably for some. Unconsciously, subconsciously, but I think it is a lot. We're going to talk about that a little bit later, so stick with this. We're going to get to all the Trey Lance stuff in a little bit, like a half hour. Stick with this because we're going to talk about it from the locker room's perspective, and this locker room didn't play with cap, so I think there's different things at play amongst the people who matter the most.
Yeah, it's funny. I think Jesse said it, and it's true. Everyone, we don't want to talk about quarterbacks, but that's all everyone really wants to talk about. Let's be honest, but yeah.
Of course, but I'm making wait for it. That's another reason to make them wait for it.
Wait for it.
All right. So they can get over their denial of what they want to discuss.
Right. You guys know you want it.
So the Niners have started slow each of the last 2 seasons. This year, it kind of behooved them to start quick because they got some easier games early on, and they got some brutal schedule. It's like cross-country trip every other week down the stretch, and they got to play the Seahawks twice in a 3-week span with the Eagles sandwich in between. Like, they really need to start fast this year.
Yeah.
How are they going to do that? They got to do something. Like, we're talking about learning lessons and doing things differently. How about the last 2 years? Whatever you did that didn't have you prepared for September and October, what are you going to do differently this year? Where would you start as honorary quality control, Ryan?
I mean, well, the easiest thing is approach the preseason kind of like they did back in the day, right? Don't approach the preseason the way you've been approaching it. Look at it like, it's an opportunity to work out the kinks, and in order to do that, you got to play your guys. You got to look at it like it's a real game, and that's the main thing I think that they need to do above everything else.
Yeah, I would think so. I think Kyle's been trying to. I think what he had, the problem he had at first was that players were getting hurt in training camp and preseason. I'm trying to think, like Jerick McKinnon didn't make it to the season. There's been other examples. And I think Kyle, what the Rams do a lot of is just like, let's just do nothing this offseason. Let's do nothing in the preseason. Just get our guys to the season. Kyle tries that. And for whatever reason, I don't know, it doesn't work as well for the Niners because all those guys just end up getting hurt early in the season because it seems like they're not really in football shape. They might be in shape, but football shape is different. Like, you have to build up a callus, as Jim Harbaugh said, to get hit, all that stuff. And it seems like the Niners don't build up that callus until mid-October. And beyond that, it seems like they don't, by not doing anything all offseason, they don't really develop an identity on their offense until the bye week. Like, they don't figure out what they do well that year. They know what they did well the previous year, And they try that stuff, and sometimes it doesn't work as well. Like all the Debo running stuff, that wasn't carrying you in 20. So what did they do? They're like, let's trade for McCaffrey.
Right.
And that fixed them. But like they have to sort of reinvent themselves every year, and they do it on the fly. So I think if you're gunning for the number 1 seed, you can't do any of that this year. You really have to take August and September seriously.
Correct.
You can't just punt August and September and think that you're going to be the number 1 seed, because some team's going to start the season like 7-0 and it won't be you.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I'm hoping the biggest difference for the 49ers this year is that, like, they approach the preseason. Because here's the thing, like, what are you worried about? Like an injury setting back and starting slow? Well, by doing that, you've been starting slow. So just go out there and play and find your rhythm early, because I think the 49ers have a real opportunity to start. I mean, they could start 6-0. They could start 4-2, which would be great.
I had them starting 4-2 and 4-0. So they could do it, but let's see them do it.
Yeah, I mean, Pittsburgh and Dallas is going to be tough, I think. But outside of that, I think the rest are very winnable games. We'll see what happens with Pittsburgh and Dallas. But they have an opportunity to start 6-0, and they have to use the preseason as a real game, work out the kinks, and get everyone going.
But again, like I'd like to see Kyle do something different as an acknowledgement that whatever his plan was the last 2 years was suboptimal. So I want to see that he's thought about it, that he's made a tweak, something different, that he intends to have results. Because if he just does the same thing and says, I just had bad luck in the past and this is going to eventually work out, then again, that's an issue I have with him as a leader.
Yeah.
I mean,
two things one thing I heard also was that I think it was Steve Slowick who said part of the reason that the 49ers, or his brother, not Steve, his brother,
Bobby.
Yeah. So part of the reason why the 49ers have started slow is because of coaching turnover. And this year they have it on the defensive side more. That's
a good point.
More than anything. So that's the thing that I'm curious about as well. Is like, I know
need to talk about that.
I'm excited about him, but like, how fast are they going to be able to figure it out?
Well, let's talk about that right now. Niner Grandpa says, I've been calling you out. Don't act dumb. Fans see it. Hey man, you sitting in your room looking out the window calling me out you gotta like contact me in some way, shape, or form. Niner Grandpa. Also, you don't just get to battle. You know what I'm saying? The top MC. You don't get just to battle me because you decided you like rapping last week. Like you got to go through the proper channels, Niner Grandpa.
Start on the call-in show. Way up.
All right, let's talk about what you just mentioned. Will the defense take a step back before it takes a step forward? That's another reason to feel like the Niners might have their customary slow start. They have a brand new defensive coordinator. And this is different from going from Robert Saleh to D'Amico Ryans. D'Amico Ryans coached under Robert Saleh. He was Robert Saleh's quality control coach. He was his linebacker coach. I mean, Saleh essentially groomed D'Amico Ryans, showed him how to be a coach, how to be a coordinator. And D'Amico's whole thing was to change nothing. Now, I mean, he may have had different tendencies or different preferences, but essentially the defense was the same. Steve Wilkes is not that guy. He didn't coach under Robert Saleh. Like, this dude's been a coordinator a very long time. He was a coordinator when Saleh was a quality control coach. Like, he has his own. He's older. He has his own ideas, and he's probably going to implement changes. And they could end up being. I like the ideas that he has, but it could take a little bit of time. You just mentioned the Niners had turnover on offense, their offensive coaching staff the last few years. It took a while for all their new ideas to come to fruition and gel, although they did last year with Brock Purdy. On defense, it could be the same thing. Do you think this defense starts off looking a little shaky?
I think it's definitely possible because it's different, right? They're going to be playing a lot more like man press coverage. They're going to be blitzing a lot more with your linebackers. And so what that means is your safeties are a big part of, like, they got to be safe, right? They have to be able to protect these corners if they get beat deep. And that's a little concerning, honestly, with Hufanga. As much as I like him, he's used to, right, everything being contained and jumping everything in front of him. It's a little different now because it's not contained. He's the safety net. He has to make sure nothing gets past him. And he's really not the speed guy necessarily. So, I could see the 49ers getting burnt a few times early if they're going to be this aggressive in the beginning. It's definitely something to look for. Now, it's entirely possible they come out and they look better than ever because I think they should have been aggressive for a long time. Personally, as a fan, I'm excited. I like that style of defense. Like, I like to watch blitzing and aggressive defense. So I'm excited about it. But is this going to be an improvement? at least in the beginning, that's a different question. We're gonna have to see.
Yeah, I mean, you have the secondary coach is gone. Corey Undlin, he went with D'Amico to Houston. So now you basically have Steve Wilkes taking over this defense and taking over the secondary. He could totally remake the secondary. We don't really know what it's going to look like. Mm-hmm. And I think from D'Amico's perspective, or maybe even Robert Saleh's perspective, like, okay, you're going to be more aggressive on defense. Okay, well, let's see how many explosive plays you give up. See how many big plays you give up. Because from D'Amico's perspective, I had the number one defense in the league last year. We were number one. So you're going to improve on that. Okay, let's see how you do that. Now, what I would say is your defense gave up 31 points in the NFC Championship game, D'Amico, and your defense is very vanilla, and it should be more aggressive. To me, what Steve Wilkes is, his theory makes sense. If you have this great pass rush, this great defensive line, complement it by playing press man coverage, which forces the quarterback to hold the ball longer, as opposed to letting him just throw quick passes against zone. That makes sense to me. But again, how long is it going to be before the Niners master that? Because they haven't really been doing. They tried it last year with Emmanuel Mosley, and it seemed like it was working. But they don't have Mosley anymore. And are they going to try that with Diamador Lenore and his like 31-inch arms and his all 5'10" to him? Like, well, how's that going to go? Because he was getting mossed last year when he wasn't playing like 15 yards off. And if it's not him, is it going to be a rookie, Darrell Luter Jr.? Like, I like him, but we asked him at the rookie minicamp, who's the best wide receiver you've ever faced? He couldn't name one. He said there was a guy at Western Kentucky, and he didn't know his name. The guy at Western, and again, nothing against that. Doesn't mean he won't be good. But there's some moments of truth that are ahead of Darrell Luter Jr. You can't just pencil him into the starting lineup. So what's going to happen? We'll see.
Yeah, and one of the biggest areas of improvement for the 49ers defense from last year that they could make is the third and short, stopping the run. Yeah. They were one of the worst in the NFL at that. People overlooked that. You know, they were one of the top defenses, but they were really bad at stopping the run on the interior, third and short. How are they going to change that this year? What has been done?
Yeah, I don't know about that because you lost Ebukam. He's a great run defender. He really is. And you added Javon Hargrave. That's a big upgrade, but not against the run. Like, honestly, if Javon Kinlaw is 100% healthy, he's going to be the reason that they're better on third and short. Like, he's built to stop that. Hargrave is not. So in a lot of ways, they need Kinlaw to step up and be who he can be. Even though they have Hargrave, if Kinlaw steps up and shows what they want him to be initially, they need him. And there's a spot for him for sure.
I mean, it would be great if Kinlaw stepped up. I mean, the hard part about Kinlaw is we've been, what is this, year 4 for Kinlaw? And
again, it's not a work ethic thing. It's not. It's one thing, and it's really out of his control and the team's control. It's his knee.
Yeah. So I mean, expecting that to happen, I don't know. It'd be great.
Can't expect it to happen
if it happened, but
can't expect it.
Yeah, you can't really expect.
You can't expect it.
Yeah.
Niner Grandpa says Niner Grandpa is top dog. All caps. Fans want to see the battle. Fans. Okay. Hey, well, next time we do the Cohn phone, you are welcome to call in. Gammon Brown says, even Mortal Kombat has a ladder system at Niner Grandpa. Meet me at the Call-In Show, bro. Wants boss music before advancing in levels. Wild. Yeah, that's right. Come on, dude. Let's go. All right, moving on. Competition in the secondary. What I think is interesting about Steve Wilkes coming in is he is a secondary guru, and it seems pretty clear that he hand-picked the secondary players in free agency in the draft. Mm-hmm. And that makes me feel like all incumbents better look over their shoulder, except for ones who make a ton of money or are in the or a first team or second team all pro, because you don't know Wilkes' preferences. D'Amico's gone. D'Amico loved Diamador Lenore. D'Amico loved Tayshaun Gibson. You know, D'Amico's gone. And now you got Isaiah Oliver here. You got Darrell Luter Jr. here. You got Jair Brown here. And you have no idea how Steve Wilkes is looking at any of these competitions. Yeah. There could be like 2 incumbent starters from last year in the secondary. It's very interesting. What do you think?
Something I caught. I think it was John Lynch. They were talking about the DBs, the safeties, and he was surprisingly lukewarm on Huff and Gibson. Like in his words. His words were like, you know, hey, yeah, those guys played great last year, but we're not going to hand anybody a starting position. And you would think like Huff and Gibson coming back, that was a guarantee. But the way he worded it was a little surprising to me. He almost opened the door, and maybe that has something to do with Wilkes wanting to decide who plays where. But he wasn't really like overly complimentary of Huff and Gibson, who I think deserved it based on last year. So, I mean, he could definitely switch things up here. I think this is the biggest thing with the 49ers that's going to be one of them, obviously quarterback competition is going to be huge, but watching the defense, the differences in the defense this year is going to be key.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like Tashawn Gibson has to be looking over his back right now. The Niners traded up to take someone at his position, and he only has 1 year on his contract. He's only guaranteed $1.1 million this year. Like, there is no guarantee he starts at all. In fact, if it's close between Brown and Gibson, you might just go with Brown because he's younger. Like, why would you play the older guy over the younger guy if it's close? So Gibson's a guy who might not start this year, even though he was great last year. They could trade him.
And there's a high chance that Isaiah Oliver is your starting nickel.
Yep.
And then
absolutely,
you got to look at
so Lenoir. So that's another one. Lenoir, like, where do you fit in, man? Where do you fit in? Because it seems like Wilkes wants to play press man coverage. It seems like he brought in a bunch of corners who have 32, 33-inch arms. Like, that's not your physical profile. It seems like they drafted you back when they liked Jason Verrett and thought they could get by with other cornerbacks who were sort of small like that. Like, first, you're not Jason Verrett, and I don't think Steve Wilkes is looking for that type. So that's another one.
There's a possibility. I mean, I haven't seen Luter in person. You saw him, and there's a long way to go. But I could see even Luter giving Lenoir some competition. I think that's possible as well.
Yeah. And then, I mean, there's Trevarius Ward. Like, Trevarius Ward, they invested a lot in him. But again, that was when D'Amico was here. That was when Corey Unlin was here. We don't know how Steve Wilkes feels about Trevarius Ward. And frankly, Trevarius Ward was getting torched down the stretch. He got smoked by DK Metcalf in the playoffs. It didn't matter because they won. And Lenoir outplayed Trevarius Ward the last 3-4 games of the season. Definitely the last 3.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if he's, what I thought was interesting was they had Luter playing left corner at rookie minicamp. Not like preparing him to take Lenoir's job, but preparing him to back up Ward. I don't know, maybe it could change around, but Ward too. You don't know how Wilkes feels about you, buddy.
Yeah. I mean, I think Ward, they invested so much in him, he'll probably have all opportunities to keep his spot. But next year, the year after that, anything's up for grabs, and Ward's going to have to come out and play his best ball. But I think Isaiah Oliver, people aren't talking about him a lot, but I think he's going to be a factor as well this year.
I think so too. And again, you can see what Wilkes wants to do. He feels like, and I agree with him, you can't just play passive zone coverage and win the Super Bowl. When you eventually face a Hall of Fame quarterback and they dice that up. Yeah. Like, you have to actually match up eventually. And if you're going to do that, you need guys who are really big and athletic and with long arms.
And then what about Quantrez Knight? That's another guy that to think about. Quantrez young guy. Sam Womack, another young guy. I mean, Ambry Thomas could be in trouble here.
Honestly, any DB who was brought into this team before this year, gotta wonder. Like, I don't know who this Steve Wilkes is. I don't know what he thinks of me. Right. I mean, you even mentioned like John Lynch was a little more lukewarm on Hufanga than you would expect. Yeah. You just have no idea what Wilkes thinks he can do with Hufanga. Maybe he's D'Amico's, ideal strong safety. Maybe he's not Steve's ideal strong safety. We'll see. Because if you watch Hufanga's tape from last year, there's some lowlights. Yeah, Wilkes saw that. I'm curious what he thinks.
Yeah, especially if you're going to be playing press man coverage and you're expecting Hufanga to play safety and protect you and from getting burnt deep. He's probably not the best guy to do that.
No. And, the difference between Hufanga and Gibson is like Hufanga takes chances. He stopped at the end of the season, but he's the one. You say he's instinctual. That means sometimes he blows his assignment or intentionally leaves his assignment because he has a feeling, which you could call hero ball. Mm-hmm. Which if it's Ronnie Lott, if it's Troy Polamalu, you say, I'll live with it. It's a freaking Hall of Famer. They'll be right more than they'll be wrong. Yeah. Talanoa Hufanga in your first year as a starter, dude, you haven't earned that. Like, play right, play sound for longer. Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah. I mean, Huff's better with everything in front of him. I mean, you might even see one of these. I mean, you could see Isaiah Oliver in certain situations drop back and play safety. I think that's a possibility as well. I mean, who knows what he's going to do, but you really want a coverage safety in third and long if you're going to be aggressive.
True. And I see people saying hey, the Niners might play some dime coverage on third down to get 3 safeties on the field. Mm-hmm. You really paid Dre Greenlaw all that money to take him off the field on third down so you could play a rookie? I don't see it that way. Yeah. They're coming. It's not Greenlaw's playing time who's going to get cut into. It's Gibson's.
Yeah.
You know, dude, like Wilkes doesn't know you.
Maybe
And
even
he
Huff.
likes Brown. All I
Maybe
know
even
is
Huff.
he likes Brown. I don't know how he feels about Gibson.
Yeah, I'm a big Huff supporter, but I think even Huff has to.
True.
You could see some of his snaps go down a little bit.
Niner Grandpa still wants it. He says, where's your sweater, Iggy? Man, I got a lot of nice sweaters. It's just been kind of. I'll wear the sweater on the college show. That guy wants it. All right. Yeah. Before we get to the quarterback, I want to talk about the running back position. You could argue the Niners have the deepest running back group in the NFL, the best running back room in the NFL.
Yeah.
They don't really rotate their backs, which is strange, but they could.
Yeah.
And if they did, watch out.
All right.
Who do you think? Do you think they keep 4 running backs, 5 running backs? Do they trade one of these guys? How do you see this one playing out?
I don't know, man. I think TDP might be in trouble. His name slips me. The rookie. It's a hard name.
I think TDP's in Kalen Laburn. I think TDP's in big trouble.
Laburn. Yeah, that's the guy that I think could come and snatch TDP's spot like Mason snatched Sermon's spot, basically.
I agree.
Yeah, I can see the same thing happening.
There's a thing with TDP I think people may forget, but remember, remind me the running back coach's name again. Bobby Turner. Bobby Turner took like a year off, right?
Yeah.
He was not with the team when they drafted TDP. That was Anthony Lynn's pick. Okay? So Bobby Turner comes back to the team midseason, and they don't use TDP. But now Bobby Turner's back, and he's very involved in the drafting of running backs, and he was not involved in the drafting of TDP. I don't know what he thinks of TDP, but I could see the Niners being like, you know what, Anthony Lynn, we gave you a chance, but Bobby Turner's back, and we're just going to go with the Bobby Turner running back. So, I mean, I don't know. If they weren't loyal to Trey Sermon, like TDP, he's got a real uphill climb because he's already behind McCaffrey, Mitchell, and Mason. Like, he's 4th on the depth chart right now, and this Laburn guy, like, he looks legit. He runs a 4.4.
And that's the kind of back they're missing too, right? Like, there's nothing TDP can do that they don't already have in CMC, Mitchell, or Mason, right?
Correct.
But a Laburn, a 4.4 burner like that, that's something different that they don't have yet. And the thing about running backs, it's not like quarterback or whatever. You either got it or you don't in most cases when it comes to running back. You know, they have short careers. Usually they're young and then they retire early. So when you come to the league and you're a running back, you usually either have it or you don't. And if TDP is not flashing yet, the chances of him coming out flashing this year are going to be slim compared to a guy like Laburn. So I see him keeping 4, and I think it's Laburn. I don't think it's TDP.
I think it's people don't realize just how bad Ty Davis Price was last year. Like, this is a team where Elijah Mitchell averaged 6.2 yards per carry. Jordan Mason averaged 6 yards a carry. Debo Samuel averaged 5.5 yards per carry. Jeff Wilson averaged 5.1 yards per carry. McCaffrey averaged 4.7. Lance averaged 4.2. And Kyle Juszczyk averaged 3.7. This dude, Ty Davis Price, averaged 2.9. 2.9 on 34 attempts. Like, how? How could you be that bad when everyone else was that good? And there's so many threats, and everyone is thinking about Debo and everyone else, but you get the ball and can't even get 3 yards. Like, no. Trey Sermon averaged like 4 yards a carry on this team. Like, no, it's bad. It's not going to happen for Ty Davis Price.
Yeah, I don't see TDP being on this team. I don't. No. I think Laburn's going to make it over him. He offers them something that they don't have, and he's fast, man. They need that.
Yeah, and I mean, look, maybe the Niners get cute and feel like Laburn is their secret, and no one will poach him, and they can put him on their practice squad. Fine, but if you want to have your best 53-man roster, Laburn's going to be better than Ty Davis Price. I'm projecting here, but it's going to be an interesting competition. Like, maybe TDP is better, but dude, you got a hell of a competition on your hands, man. Just to be the 4th running back on this team. What if they only keep 3?
What about
they might just keep 3?
What about that Jake kid, the Jack? What's his name? Starts
Jack Coletto.
What do you think?
That feels like another practice squad guy who could become like a fullback down the line. Because I saw him in rookie minicamp. He doesn't look like a pro right now. No offense. He just looks like a practice squad guy right now who could use a little time in the Niners. Wait,
how many years do you think Juszczyk has in him? He's kind of old for a fullback. Like,
I already feel like he's a good player, but they don't use him that much and they pay him a lot. And I kind of feel like, I don't know. They could kind of move on at any time. Maybe this could be his last year to year. Because think about it. Like, if you have a fifth option on the field, couldn't you get a more dangerous one than Juszczyk? It's like you don't do that much with him. Even when he catches the ball, it's not.
And what is he, like $5 million a year, right?
Something like that.
That's a lot. That's a lot for a fullback. You could have one for 800,000. You know.
Yeah, he's not the running back. He's not the blocker he was when he was 29. Like he's a good player. I just don't see how they justify paying him all that for the way they use him. I don't know.
They don't use him enough. Yeah.
Sean O'Leary says, I say trade Mitchell. Too injury prone, cash out while cost controlled and young, and still seen as having upside. The thing about that is, like, what's he worth? He's a running back. Every team likes their running backs. Every team feels they have a strong running back room. You know, everyone knows that Elijah Mitchell gets hurt. So is he worth a little bit more than Jeff Wilson was? A 4th-round pick instead of a 3rd? A day 3 pick?
I'm a little nervous about that just based on CMC's history and his usage. If you lose CMC, and then as much as I like Jordan Mason, he's kind of just like a power back, right? You kind of want Elijah Mitchell as more of a combo speed power back. I
think he's a bit of a receiver.
Yeah, you want to keep Elijah Mitchell, I think, because if something happens to CMC, just Jordan Mason, you just have a power back at that point, and I don't think that's enough.
Yeah. I actually think Elijah Mitchell is extremely talented. He just needs, I don't know, I think he needs to put on a little bit of muscle because he runs so hard. Kyle he runs like he's 225 pounds. Yeah, but he's built like he's 205 tops. Like he's not, he might have less muscle. He probably has less muscle than McCaffrey, I'd have to say. Yeah, honestly, he's about McCaffrey's size with a little bit less muscle definition, and that's, I think, explains his career. So you look at Labor, you saw the pictures I put of Laburn on my channel, like the thumbnails. He already has bigger legs and a more defined upper body than Mitchell right now. So look, if you could just take a little bit of a workload off of Mitchell, maybe but I don't know, just the way he runs, he's just like one run away from knocking himself out.
And knock on wood, CMC was pretty, reliable last year. Obviously, didn't miss a game, but CMC and Mitchell both of them have a history for injury, so I don't think you want to rely on one and not, count out the other. I think you need them both.
If I were the Niners, I would roll with. I mean, with that, I guess you could argue if you think you can get Laburn on the practice squad, you should put him there and keep as many as you can. But if you don't, I think their best 4 are going to be McCaffrey, Mitchell, Mason, Laburn. Those are 4 good.
Yeah,
running fullback.
I think it's realistic that Laburn is good enough to where they want him on the team, maybe. So at that speed, Yeah. Can he play special teams though? That's the question. Did he play special teams in college?
I don't know. Yeah. Mason does.
Yeah.
Rod Simmons says, Grant, you have said the NFL refs won't allow physical defense to exist in this era. Physicality kept us penalized with Solid and Ryan's. We'll fix this. Well, I was thinking about this too. This is another thing I think Solid and D'Amico would say. It's like, oh, you want to play press man coverage, huh? Good luck with that in the Super Bowl. Let's see how many PI calls you get in the 4th quarter. Yeah. Let's see how many PI, because that happened to Bradbury, right? He was trying to play man coverage. Would he have his hand like, was he grazed the guy's thigh?
Yeah.
Would he graze his thigh? Can't do that.
Yeah.
Can't do that. So good luck playing man coverage. You're damned if you do, damned if you don't playing defense in the NFL.
Do we really have corners that are that elite to where you can play man coverage against the best receivers in the NFL and in the Super Bowl? I don't know if we do. So you have to balance it.
Wow. Shots fired at Isaiah Oliver. Wow. The other thing, though, I think what the Niners have acknowledged, to Rod's point, is that you can't really have safeties. You can. It's better to have safeties like Hufanga and Brown, who are ball hawks, than safeties like Tartan Ward, who are athletes, run defenders, physical tone setters, versatile. Like, their skill set's great, but it's a passing league, and you need turnovers more than tackles.
Yeah.
Like you'll take a functional tackler over like Jimmy Ward's a great tackler. Like, yeah, I need interceptions from the safety spot. I need him. Yeah. And you weren't getting them from that duo.
Yeah.
Josh Wyatt says, count the number of draft picks we have devoted to running back with CMC and trade ups. Are we 8 picks better than we would be if we had stuck with the late round guys? No.
Well, it's hard with CMC. He's more than a running back. So that one, is different.
But
for
still,
me.
the totality of all the picks
Yeah.
dedicated to the position when you've had this track record of success with the undrafted, like you literally could have spent 0 picks on this position and had, a top 5 room in the league, but Kyle can't help himself. So
Yeah.
hopefully that the number 1 running back room in the league carries him.
And I don't know if you saw, but who's the XFL guy? He just kicked 8 field goals, like 3 over 50 yards. He went 8 for 8, won the game in the XFL recently. I forget his last name, but like you could have got him.
That's why you don't spend 3rd round picks on kickers. Just get a guy like that.
Yeah.
He's a pro.
And maybe Moody works out, but I feel like this guy is pretty damn good based on what he did this weekend. So you could have got him.
It'd be interesting to see. Gambin Brown says, I say trade Lance, Purdy, Sam, too injury prone, cash out while cost controlled, young, and still have seen as having upside. Niner grandpa is paying for Grant's upgraded sweater wardrobe. Hate the opinion, not the person. Yeah, I think the Niners should try a new brand of football where no one's a quarterback, but everyone's a quarterback. There's no pure. Why would you have a quarterback on the team when they can't play running back? Right. You have to be a running back.
Yeah.
First.
Yeah. Let's CMC play quarterback. Yeah.
Exactly. Thank you very much. Okay. Last thing, and then we'll talk Trey. The Niners have a very particular brand of football. They talk about it all the time. They call it Niner football. And to me, isn't. Well, what would you say it is?
Defense, run game, I guess.
It's physicality, right?
Yeah, physicality.
It's physicality. This is the most physical team in the league. They hurt you on both sides of the ball. They want to be physical. They took pride in you lose the next game. Like it's a war facing us.
Right.
Cool. And at least you have a personality and identity, and you stick to it. You've achieved that at defensive line, linebacker, DB, running back, tight end. I feel like there's one pretty large position group that doesn't kind of fit this brand of football, and it's the offensive line. Now, the left side does. Like, nothing against Williams and Banks. Those guys are big. Those guys kick butt. But the other 3 guys, like, they are not physical. Say what you want about Brendel, Burford, and McKivitz. They are not physical. They are finesse.
Yeah.
Finesse offensive linemen. And I think it's kind of interesting that the Niners have built up this personality. It just feels like almost like they don't fit the team anymore. I mean, does it fit?
I have a weird prediction. It might not come true, but I really feel like Feliciano is going to work his way into this starting lineup by the end.
He's not a finesse offensive lineman.
Yeah,
he's physical. Yeah, he's physical.
That's why I'm saying. I know a lot of people think it's crazy, but I feel like he's one of the top 5 linemen on the team. I really think that, and I feel like he'll work his way in there. I don't think he came here to sit on the bench. He started for 12 seasons or something crazy like that. I don't know how long it's been, but he started for a long time.
He started 15 games last year.
Right.
At center, but he started 6 games the year before that at guard, 9 games the year before that at guard, 16 games the year before that at guard. What do you want to be? Do you want to be nimble and quick like Spencer Burford, or do you want to be physical? Like, the whole freaking team is physical except for those 3 guys. Maybe Feliciano is going to start.
It's interesting how Kyle Shanahan structures the line. It's almost always been strong on the left and more like agile on the right. Like, I wonder.
It's because they run their outside zone to the right. They run run more gap plays to the left. But like, outside zone is an inherently finesse, unphysical way to run the ball. Like, you're not blocking down on people. You're like setting picks in basketball, essentially. You're trying to get to the edge.
Isn't that predictable though? Like, outside of Trent Tippett on the left, then you got that going on as well. Like, it's a little too predictable.
Now, the way he would say that they balance it out is with their play action game. Like, okay, we're going to run outside zone to the right, but we can always keep you honest with our play action bootleg game. Yeah. It's not physical. At a certain point, they got to all pass protect, and they get blown up. All of them.
Yeah. I mean, the Harbaugh era, that line was physical throughout.
Yes.
Yeah.
Boone and Davis. Good God.
Yeah. Davis is all of those guys, man. The whole line was vicious.
Yes.
That's one thing I think we all been saying that we wanted that to be the focus in this draft. Yeah. We wanted the right tackle to be addressed in the draft or in the free agency, and it wasn't. They continue to just believe in what they're doing with Colt McKivitz, and I don't know, man. Last year it kind of seemed like it backfired once they started playing these really good teams, and this is another, like we started off the show talking about what they have learned. In this perspective, they think they haven't figured out, and they think this is what works for them, and they haven't addressed it, and that does concern me.
I think is interesting is they've built their team a certain way. Like the Eagles are very similar in how they've built their team. Like they're very physical too, but in a way, like they're almost more physical because look at their offensive line.
Yeah.
It's huge. Everyone is 6'6", 320, except for the center. They got like 4 guys who are 6'6", 320. And then their quarterback is like the most physical, strong. He's a power lifter. He got like 10 touchdowns on quarterback sneaks last year.
Yeah.
So the Niners are almost kind of getting beaten at their own game right now. And maybe they've learned. Like Lance is kind of physical. If you don't use him like a fullback, there are ways to use his physicality in a safe way. And maybe bringing in Feliciano and Pryor is an attempt to get a little bit bigger on the offensive line. Because I mean, it works for Philly. If that's who you want to be, I think you need the offensive line to match it.
Yeah, Feliciano's a bruiser. Did they ever decide what they're going to do about the sneak, the Eagles sneak?
I don't know. One more thing I want to think with the outside zone thing. Like, what is the point of having those 3 outside zone offensive linemen if you don't have Raheem Mostert? Like, you don't have the running back to really take advantage of it. So what's the point? You got McCaffrey. You like all these guys are really more like between the tackles runners. So freaking load up.
Another reason why I think the rookie running back might make this team because that he could be that guy.
Dude, if he ends up being their guy and he steals 10 carries a game, that'd be tight. But why not? It's happened before.
Yeah.
All right. Let me make sure. Okay. Gammon Brown says, I call out Niner Grandpa fans want to see it. Have you noticed how let's do it. I will do a Cohn phone. You guys both have to show up. Have you noticed how StreamYard has fixed the super chats? They automatically star all the super chats so you don't miss them now. So nice.
I didn't notice that. I don't get a lot of super chats on my channel, man. I got to work my way up to that.
Sorry. All right, let's talk Trey Lance.
Yeah.
Fans want to know about how this locker room really feels about Trey Lance. And I think it's a tough question to answer because I think the locker room is not necessarily in lockstep with this one. I feel like there's 2 classes of players on this team. You know, there's the older players who are rich and on their 2nd and 3rd contracts, who are the captains and the leaders of the team. And then there's the younger players who may make up the majority of the team. Those guys who are on their first contracts, who don't have much standing and don't have a voice. I think there's 2 kind of classes. I think they might feel different about Trey. That's the way I see it. I feel like the young guys look at Trey as one of them. And I think they look at him like, man, if he getting screwed over, 3rd pick in the draft, like they gave a ball. If he's getting screwed over, I could get screwed over. Someone like I could look at it that way. Mm-hmm. But older guys look at Trey and they see that he was brought in to replace Jimmy. And they think, man, if Jimmy could get screwed over, you know, the quarterback who does everything right, makes all this money, wins, man, any of us could get screwed over. And I think you have like players sort of empathizing with Trey or being threatened by Trey, if you understand what I'm saying. And I think like it's sort of what he represents to both of them, not even who he is. He seems like a perfectly pleasant fella. I don't know. What do you think?
I think a majority of people in that locker room and in, you know, the front office, they see the talent that Trey Lance has. So they don't underestimate that. I think they all know that he has that talent, but I think a lot of them just don't think he's ready. And I think more than that, when we're talking about the locker room, a lot of them don't think he has that leadership dog mentality like that Brock Purdy showed early, that assertiveness, that he's kind of the younger brother to a lot of those guys that you were talking about that doubt him. And I think that's one of the biggest hurdles that he's going to have to overcome. Obviously, you go out there and you win, and that changes everything. And to me, it seems like Trey Lance, you know, he wants people to like him, and he's a little bit too nice. And he's going to have to win to slowly build that trust from those guys. Whereas Brock Purdy just was kind of assertive from the jump before he even played it down. So I think it's mixed feelings. Like we've been thinking for a while. I mean, I even told you my source before. Was it before last season? That they were a little. There was hesitancy in regards to Trey Lance. And a lot of it, I think, is just his personality. Like he's a very nice guy. It's like almost too nice. And he needs to be more of like this aggressive alpha leader that quarterbacks typically are, you know, unless you've been playing and you've shown that you can win. You have to embody that leadership throughout in the way you speak, you know, not just the way you play.
Yeah, it's true. But I feel like part of me feels like, though, the leadership council, aka the Cabo crew, is never going to really like Trey. And he has to stop thinking about winning them over. He may never.
Yeah.
He may never. He could win. He could play well, and they could still be like not on the boat. At a certain point, if it's his team and he takes over, the Niners will have to decide who's in and who's out. But we're a long way from that happening. But I just feel like a lot of these people won't give Trey the benefit of the doubt because of what he represents, why he's here, how he got here, and that's a lot of the older players. That's how I feel about it. They treat him like a younger brother, and like, how do you stop? When do you stop doing that? It's so disrespectful. When do you stop?
I feel like if he wins games, and he wins games in large part because he's playing well, that goes away, and it goes away pretty quickly. But that he's got to get to that point, right? He can't just be coasting by depending on Debo and CMC to get him there. He's got to overcome all of that, or else they're going to be comparing him to Brock Purdy forever. Right? He has to be the reason why the 49ers are winning games, which is hard to do on this roster. But he just has to ball out and win games. Once they do that, like if they go into Pittsburgh, win that game, if he beats the Cowboys, if they start 6-0, and he's the quarterback, I think all that goes away.
I disagree. This team is complicated because the leadership council, the Cabo crew, again, to me, I feel like they look at Trey as like, man, you didn't ask us if we wanted Trey. You didn't get our input on this. In fact, had you asked our input, we would have said no. And they've already sort of given Brock Purdy their seal of approval. They like Brock Purdy. So whatever happens with Trey Lance, I can see them being like, hey, when Brock Purdy's healthy, he should play. Because we want playoff games with Brock Purdy. Like, he just got hurt. I can see that happening. And again, that puts Trey in a very awkward position. Like, what do you do when you have a locker room that's already made up its mind? Or not a locker room, but a leadership council.
I think right now they've made up their mind and they have their opinions. But again, I really believe that, it's professional sports. If he goes out there and balls out and wins, he can get rid of that. I think it's just like the fans. There's a lot of the fans want to see Trey Lance, but there's also fans that are extremely overcritical on Trey Lance. And I think it's the same thing with his team. There's some of the guys like Trey Lance, want to see what he can do. They believe in his talent. Then there's some of them want to roll with Brock Purdy, and they're not sold on him yet. And the number one way to fix that with both the locker room and the fan base is go out there and ball out. And I feel like once he does that, if he does that, he can change things. I just feel like there's a section of this fan base that always is going to want to discredit Trey. Not just the fan base, but maybe the team too. And a section of this fan base and the team that really believes in Brock. And I kind of compare it to like the Steve Young, Joe Montana thing, although it's not that. But you can ask Jack Hammer. Like, Jack Hammer is a big Joe Montana guy. And anytime anyone tries to like pump up the Steve Young legacy, like, he'll be there on Twitter to be like, hold on, wait a second. Yeah,
I disagree. So 1992, the Niners eventually push out Joe Montana and go with Steve. Steve's 14-2 that year. I think he might have been the MVP. They lose in the playoffs to Dallas. To this day, Jack Hammer will say, Joe would have won that game with a straight face. Yeah. God love you, Jack. And there's a lot of people from that era that feel that way. So that's the thing with Trey. Like, he could go 14-2. He loses to Dallas in the playoffs. This team would be like, oh, Brock would have won that.
Yeah,
Brock would have
done that.
Brock would have. Brock would have went for 500 yards. Like, Brock's Superman. All that kind of stuff. It's a tough spot.
Yeah, I could see that.
It's a tough
for
spot.
Sure. I could see that, but I think winning is what people want more than anything. So there's going to be a small. The more you win, the smaller that segment goes.
It's
right?
True.
And so eventually he can earn it back, but he's definitely behind the 8-ball when it comes to starting off.
It would be funny, though, if they win, but just the way Trey plays, he doesn't really throw the ball to the tight end as much, and he throws more to like Ayuk.
Yeah.
And the wide receivers, like, I wonder how.
And he should, honestly. I think out of all the quarterbacks on the 49ers, maybe Darnold, but I don't really expect him to be that involved unless one of these guys gets hurt. But between Trey Lance and Brock Purdy, he's going to throw the receivers more than Brock Purdy. He's just going to.
We'll talk about that in a minute. Gambit Brown says, I get this already. I call out Niner Grandpa. Fans want to see it. Okay, we'll do it. Alex T says, do you think the Cabo crew will ever attend an A's game, or is it beneath them? Oh, my God, it's beneath them. Absolutely. And what was one of the things another reason I like Trey Lance, he went to an A's game yesterday. He was all giddy about it, like he was a fan. So cool.
Yeah, I've seen him with a Dodger hat, Giants game, A's game. Yeah.
He's just looking for someone to be on his side. Niner Grandpa says, how do I call in? Let's do it. You stay there too, Iggy. Yeah, he's never going to figure out how to call in, is he?
Sundays, right? Isn't
Sundays.
that when you do it?
Saturday, Sundays. I'll let you know.
Yeah.
Khalil Kemp says, honestly, I love this for Trey. The only time something was ever given to him, he was rejected. Better to earn it this time, like every other time before. Yeah. I like that. I like that too. And again, like he's in the position that Brock was in last year. No one's like everyone's anointing Brock, and people are writing off Trey. Like that's a good spot to be in. A lot more pressure when you're being anointed.
I debate with Stats Guerrero all the time. I love Rob. I like how he covers the 49ers, but I debate with him all the time because he's like so worried about Sam Darnold. And to me, like there's a lot of Trey fans that don't think he should have to compete at all with Sam Darnold. And for me, it's like, I don't give a damn if he's competing with Sam Darnold. Like he should, and he should beat him out. If he's that guy, like I think he is. I'm not even worried about him. I'm all for competition.
Yeah. Flave says, think they just don't think Trey is good right now. Plus saying, I'll be okay with Jimmy Garoppolo coming back if he makes less than me. I'm sure vets thought, who are you and why you care what he makes? Go earn the job. I do feel like it's clear that bringing back Jimmy last year was an indication that they were concerned about Trey. And now Kyle even says, I mean, maybe he's using excuses, but he was like, well, his finger was messed up. The fact that his finger was messed up all offseason didn't allow him to make the mechanical changes he needed to make. Now he says he did make or we feel very good about the changes he's made. He's fixed his base. I mean, he's very specific. So we'll see if he can do it if it carries over. But so far, I feel like Kyle's trying to be transparent right now, and I kind of want to give him the benefit of the doubt.
The funny thing about Flav, man, he was betting me betting. He says he's going to give me an autographed Ronnie Lott jersey if Trey Lance was the week one starter, and then he backed out of the bet. I thought he had confidence in Darnold, but it doesn't seem like he does as much as he's saying. Yeah.
True says the fact is Lance was a project. When you get Purdy coming in and doing it better than Jimmy, they have to take a step back for the win now mentality. Right, and so that's why you would stick with Brock because he was a clear, a smooth transition, and there's no development. But Brock got hurt. That's what makes things complicated. It's not as simple as just rolling with Brock. Now he has to rehab. Now he has to miss the whole offseason. So what do? That's why we're talking about it. But I feel you true. Relax World says NY Lance fan here. Why do people make it like Darnold is a Mahomes in the making so annoying?
Because I don't like Lance. I think that's really what it's about. Because if Sam Darnold was traded to or signed with the Cardinals, you guys wouldn't give a damn. But now he's on the Niners, and he's the best thrower of the football of all time to a lot of people. It's just weird.
What's different between Sam Darnold's situation and Blake Bortles' situation? Like Blake was on a bad team. Blake was on a bad team too, and he was the third pick in the draft, and he sucked. And then he went to the Rams. Like they were like, oh, we got this former number 3 pick. Let's put him on our team, and he'll be good. No. He sucks. Yeah. He sucks.
That's the more similar comparison to people. Yeah. People are trying to compare him to Steve Young. Like, what are you doing, man? Blake Bortles, buddy. Yeah,
well, what's the difference? Like, oh, Darnold was on bad teams. What the hell was Blake Bortles on? The Jaguars.
Yeah. And a lot of stuff he does, a lot of stuff he does, it doesn't matter. Sam Darnold was recruited to college because of his arm talent and his athleticism. It's all good. Mm-hmm. But his senior year in high school, he threw 9 interceptions. Was that a bad team? Right? In college, he threw interceptions and fumbles.
It's a USC. He just cry me a freaking river with your excuses at USC.
Doesn't matter what
you weren't at Arizona. You were at Oregon State.
Yeah, and how does your team matter if you're fumbling? What does that have to do with fumbling?
Yeah, hold on to the freaking ball. Butterfingers.
Yes.
That's your name. All right. So I think this is interesting. To me, Trey Lance is the new Mike McGlinchey on this team. I'm going to explain why. Okay? Well, people always said what McGlinchey was, man, he does his job correctly 97% of the time. It's just those 3% of the time it looks bad, and people harp on that. And that's true to an extent for Mike McGlinchey. It's also true for Trey Lance because when he misses, a lot of times it's bad. Like, it'll be one like it flutters and it doesn't spin right, or he misses high and away, or he misses something on like he one-hop someone in the flat. Like, those misses almost are viral, and they kind of overshadow everything else he does unless he's throwing for 300 yards and 4 touchdowns, which he hasn't achieved that level of production yet. So I think with him, like, a big thing is just consistency, like not having those moments where people that don't like him can just loop it over and over again and be like, what the hell was this? What the low light throws? That stuff is big.
I think part of it is Kyle Shanahan just talked about it. he had a broken finger and he could not throw correctly for a long time. And
That's true.
so, Kyle Shanahan's talking about how his ball looks better than ever. He looks better than he's ever looked. So I think that has to be considered, man. He throwing with a broken finger is definitely going to affect that consistency.
Kyle was he was really specific. He was like, he couldn't bend his index finger when he threw. He was throwing with a straight index finger for a year, which is not ideal. Hard.
Try to go throw a football like that. It's not easy.
Yeah.
So
no.
I think, again, there's a sample size on Trey Lance's. Everything with Trey Lance is based on potential. I see his potential. I see his mentality and his mind, and I think it's very promising. But there's really no body of work to make a decision on him one way or the other yet, especially if you take in things into context like, the game plan, the broken finger, the weather, like never having 2 games in a row, never having George Kittle, never having CMC. So everything is just like, do you believe in his potential or do you not? But really, that's the way you have to judge him at this point.
And like, I feel like we've been having this conversation for 2 years, like why you have to be patient, not patient, but why you can't give up on Trey yet. I just want to be clear. To me, there is a pattern with the Trey Lance people that and it's not a racist thing. There's 2 camps of people that are very adamantly against Trey Lance. It's fans and maybe some players who were big Jimmy Garoppolo fans. If you were ever a Jimmy Garoppolo guy, chances are you resented Trey Lance the moment he came on this team and would like nothing more than him to get the boot the way Jimmy did.
Yeah.
Also, media that were led to believe, insiders that break news who were led to believe that the Niners were going to take Mac Jones said so a lot and came away looking stupid and unconnected. I feel like there's a little bit of retribution going on here. Like, oh, okay, you made me look stupid. You made me say all this stuff. Okay, well, now I'm going to make you look stupid for taking Trey Lance. So we're going to say that we know that Trey Lance sucks. And we're going to put a lot of pressure on you to move on and acknowledge that you shouldn't have made us look stupid in the first place.
And there's a I guess it's more content creators, but like I'll admit, like for me, I predicted they would draft Trey Lance. I said he's going to be good, so I'm dug in. I'm dug in on my opinions. I want to be right, just like Larry said. I discovered Brock. He's like the guy that pointed out Brock Purdy first, and he wants to be right about that. I think that's natural human.
I'm talking about the insiders though that like predicted the Niners would take Mac Jones, like Schefter, Rappaport, Mike Silver.
Yeah, you want to be right.
Rappaport, Mike Silver. Like those guys said, it's gonna be Mac Jones, and then it wasn't, and then I feel like they shifted to, well, it should have been Mac Jones, and then like a lot of their commentary in the years since then have been, look, see, bad pick. It wasn't that we were wrong. It's like the Niners did something erratic at the end and made the wrong pick. Like, nah, you just got it wrong.
Yeah,
it was Trey. What you were led astray. You were wrong. And now it feels like, people kind of hold it against him when he was like, maybe the team led you astray. Maybe you're not as connected as you thought.
I think people want to be right. One thing, though, about you that I will say is I don't really notice you wanting to be right about anything, right? You'll give your take, but you don't care if you're wrong.
I mean, I like when I'm right, but it's important to acknowledge when you're wrong.
Yeah, but I think other people are different. Like I think I want to be right more than you do. I think Larry does too. Like, so I think there are a lot of people that are just, hey, I predicted this, and they're going to push that. They want to be right about it.
The way I look at it is a lot of people do these shows and streams and stuff and are content creators, and most of them are terrified to be wrong.
Yeah.
Boring.
Yeah.
If you're scared to be wrong, you won't put yourself out there. You got to be it's like the Jordan mentality, right? You can't be afraid to miss the shot. You got to take the shot. Yeah. And a lot of people are afraid to miss the shot. And they're afraid of receipts. Like,
who's right all the time? Nobody, right? So
nobody.
It's weird, like if you're, you can get 5 things right and you miss one thing, and everyone's like, "Oh, you were wrong." Like, so what? Like, it's
obviously you want to try to get things right. Like, no one's going to want to watch a sports commentator who's wrong all the time, but no one also wants to watch the sports commentator who thinks he's right all the time and can't admit when he's wrong. Like, that's boring and frankly like common.
Right.
You see that shit all the time. It's like, okay, here's this guy. This guy wants me to think he's the only guy who gets it right all the time. Like, no, you're not. I can call up the receipts. I'll have to call up the receipts if you're going to act that way. But if you're the kind of guy who's like, actually, instead of tooting my own horn and giving myself credit, let me be transparent here. It reminds you of the times when I was wrong and make fun of myself for that. I think that's more relatable. And then you have people like actually will toot your horn for you. Pause.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Flave says, I offered Ryan a signed trade jersey and he said, no, not worth it. So I had to go with Ronnie Lott just to get him to bet. And if you're not worried about Darnold, why wouldn't you bet who starts more games?
Well, like I said, Flav, you have to come on the call-in show. We have to clarify exactly what you're talking about, but I think you're making it too complex. If Sam Darnold is your guy, you should start week 1. I'm saying Trey starts week 1. That's a simple bet. If you believe in the guy, what are you scared of? You know,
Flave, I think you should call in a Darth Vader helmet and just do the Darth Vader
Sunday
and just
Sunday.
You know,
call
ruin Trey Lance in the Darth Vader voice.
Call in Sunday. We'll figure out your complex bet because you just won't pick your man straight up.
I feel like Ryan picks his bets very well and normally wins. So if you got Ryan feeling like you're an opportunity and you know you're a sweet lick, I would just say no, thank you. Yeah. Okay. Gammon Brown says at Corey Soto is a homie, missed his super chat. Oh, I will get it. I promise. Hold on. I'll go back in a minute. James NLBC says, Grant, I'm going to Levi Stadium for the first time. Should I stay near Santa Clara or stay in SF? And if so, what neighborhoods are great and safe? If you can swing it, I would stay in SF. There's a million things to do in San Francisco. There's not that much to do in Santa Clara other than Great America. And the Niners.
They're closing Great America, aren't they? Isn't that crazy?
In about 10 years. It's crazy.
That's
so
crazy.
I would say in San Francisco, I mean, you could stay anywhere in the financial district and Chinatown and North Beach.
Don't park your car outside. Don't park your car outside. Trust me.
Yeah. Don't even get a car.
Yeah.
Don't do that. Uber it or you could take Caltrains down.
Yeah.
That's the thing, though. It's like 45 minutes away, dude. It's really not good. Sorry.
Right.
Gammon Brown says
stay in Santa Cruz. That's my recommendation. Santa Cruz. Yes.
Highway 17's. Woo.
It is.
But yeah, it's fun.
Yeah.
Take a good shot. Or you could you could stay in Half Moon Bay too. Mm-hmm. It's nice. Best kind of out there. Take a good shot, not a dirty shot. F clickbait. True.
Yeah.
Yeah, agree. Hold on. Who did I miss? I missed Corey Soto.
Corey Soto.
All right, here we go. The dogmatism around pro Trey Lance or pro BP is a good demonstration of how afraid people are of uncertain situations. Human nature with lack of info. Ooh, I like that. Oh, I missed a bunch of them. Hold on. Sean O'Leary, I got you too. Sorry. Sean O'Leary says, related to getting off to a good start, conditioning, training, any sign the Niners are changing how they do things? Even away from quarterbacks, seems we can count on 2-3 missed games each year from Kittle, Debo, Williams, and that's a great question. Again, I've only seen rookie minicamp. So that's definitely what I'm looking for this offseason. Not just the good and the not so good of what the players are doing, but like the structure of training camp.
Yeah.
You know?
Can I say one thing too? Because I always pick on him. And but I think from what I saw at Debo and in a couple of videos, he looks like he's in shape, which is a good sign.
That's good. That's good. Yeah. Sean, you sent this like an hour ago. So if you missed it, I'm really sorry. But thank you very much for the donation, Sean. I don't know how I missed that, but I got it. I stayed in San Jose when I went, loved it, says Holden. That you could also stay in San Jose. A lot of people like San Jose. It's like 10 minutes away from don't stay in Santa Clara. The team stays in Santa Clara because it's convenient, but either San Jose or San Francisco or Oakland. There's also Oakland. I live in Oakland. It's quite nice. I'd recommend it, but some people are just a little scared. Sure you have to ask yourself, are you scared?
Just make sure you know what you're doing if you're going to stay in Oakland.
Yeah, don't stay by like the Oakland airport. Don't do that.
Don't do that.
What does being wrong even feel like, says Flave? Yeah, I could tell.
Well, I don't know. Tell us how it felt when they got rid of Jimmy Garoppolo. You would probably know.
Oh, it hurts. Okay. So how much different do you think the offense will look with Trey Lance this year as opposed to Brock Purdy? Or do you think the fact that Purdy's the leader in the clubhouse going forward means that, the Trey Lance offense is somewhat being muted and that he's going to be asked to compete in the Brock Purdy style of offense?
No, I think if Trey Lance is the guy, Kyle's going to have specific offense for him. And we already know how it's going to look. I mean, just small sample size, right? But Trey Lance threw under 10 yards just 50% of the time. 50% of the time he's going deep. Brock Purdy throws under 10 yards 70% of the time. So with Brock Purdy, you're going to have more dink and dunk, more Jimmy Garoppolo-ish offense. Trey Lance is going to take bigger shots, and he's going to run the ball. So it's pretty.
No, what it is when Brock plays, it's the Christian McCaffrey show. It's a handoff to Christian McCaffrey. Completion to Christian McCaffrey.
Screen pass.
Handoff to Christian McCaffrey. Yeah, that's all day. Yeah.
Yeah. So it could look a lot different. And I don't know. Like that's one thing I'm curious about is is Trey Lance just naturally look deeper
Yes.
and deep and back, or is Kyle Shanahan
Yeah.
wanting him to do that more?
Right.
Like that's the thing, and
Yeah.
that's what's a little bit. It's not really genuine to compare their completion percentage because they're doing two different things on the field. Trey Lance is going deep a lot more than Brock Purdy or Jimmy were.
I would also expect that Lance would throw more, or Kyle would call more passes for Lance that are like outside the hashes.
Yeah.
Outside. Because if you have a quarterback who you feel is erratic, who, will be money 9 times out of 10, but when he does miss, sometimes he misses by a lot, like the Randy Johnson effect, if you remember what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Then you might be a little hesitant to call those passes over the middle because if he misses high, it's pick. If this is low, it's pick. So if you call those throws that go to the sideline, man, if he has an erratic throw on that one, he just hits a hot dog vendor. He just hits a cheerleader. I mean, which is we got to check on them. They're people too,
Right.
But it's not a turnover. And I think you saw that with Lance. You call a lot of deep crossing routes. You call a lot of fade routes, and that's sort of what Philly does with Hurts too. You don't see him throw over the middle that much.
And he's going to take a couple shots every game as well, like deep.
More than a couple.
Yeah, 30 plus.
Yes.
Yeah. So it's a big difference, and that's honestly why I'm like, as a fan, I'm hopeful that it works out because that's the kind of offense I want to see. I want to be able to take shots 2 or 3 times a game and count on one of them being completed. Like that's what I want to see as a fan that's been missing since Jeff Garcia.
Yes. Now, the one other thing I want to see with Lance is what does their offense look like in the red zone with Lance? Because the one thing I got to say about Purdy is I love the way he plays in the red zone. It's just great. Now, I don't know if he can do it forever, but the way he sort of makes plays in there, you got to give him credit for a lot of those touchdown passes.
Yeah.
With Lance, I don't know if he plays that way, but there must be another way that they can, be effective, like using him as a runner there, closer to the goal line might be effective. Going 11
like that's what they
football
wanted to do, though, didn't it? Didn't it seem like when they were in the red zone, it was like run Lance.
2 years ago.
Yeah.
They used to bring him in for the red. Like they used to take Jimmy out and bring in Lance. Like he's supposed to be their red zone weapon. So I just want to see how that works. And if they can figure that out, then the big playability plus the ability to finish drives should be very potent.
Yeah. No, agreed. And that shout out to Brock Purdy. He is really good at that. That's his wheelhouse. Anything 10 yards or shorter, like he's money. And so he built a great relationship with George Kittle in the red zone.
The creativity he has, like that's. It's almost like a trait you don't talk about with quarterbacks, but creativity. I like that with Brock. He's got it.
And honestly, it's the most important thing. So
hell yeah.
Trey Lance has to develop. I mean, you got to score points, right? And Brock Purdy's good at it. So that's one thing we need to see improvement from Trey Lance.
And is it something that was just inherent that Brock Purdy always had? Maybe to a degree, but I think it's also a reflection of how much experience he has. He's been in the red zone a lot. He knows what it takes to score touchdowns as opposed to field goals. Like even at Iowa State, it wasn't as simple of, okay, we're at the 10, we're just going to hand off and bulldoze our way in. Like, no, Iowa State's not scoring like that. Like, he's going to have to do something. So it's the NFL. Trey's going to have to learn that too. Yeah.
Here's the thing that Trey Lance needs to do, Grant. He needs to be able to master the easy things. And if you're, I don't see why anyone would be concerned about you being able to master the easy things, right? Like, that's why they're called easy. They're probably
especially if you have a good coordinator, a good QB coach.
Right. So if people are like, oh, he can't do the easy things. Okay. You're worried about him not being able to do the easy things, the things that you're calling easy. Like he'll figure that stuff out.
Right. But I mean, if you draft a quarterback who's, the rawest quarterback ever drafted that high, you should have a plan for that. You can't be surprised that he needs a little hand holding. Like,
what's interesting is you take Brock Purdy out of the 49ers getting drafted. I think the narrative is completely different right now, right? If Brock Purdy didn't turn into Brock Purdy last year, which is completely unexpected by everybody, everyone's probably all over Trey Lance. Trey Lance would be like the guy coming into this season.
It's true. So, it'd be like, or the Niners would have, because Jimmy would have gotten hurt still. Yeah, Trey Lance would be the guy, pretty much. Holden says, no, we got you. It's official. Flav's my daddy, says Flav's son. Congratulations. All the best. Batman Lives says 5 players who definitely won't make the final squad. Definitely won't make it.
5 players.
Ambry.
Definitely.
Ambry Thomas. Ty Davis Price.
Yeah. There's some. You mean like existing players or like new players? Like there's a lot of new guys. I mean, there's 90 guys. Huh?
Yeah. Charlie Warner. That's 3. That's definite.
Yeah.
Charlie Warner.
I can't
Ross
even think of it.
Twelly. Ross, they might keep Ross as a fourth guy. They love Ross Twelly, and so do I. I don't know.
Yeah.
They've kept 4 tight ends before.
Yeah.
Because if they want to run like 3 tight end sets, then you need a backup. Otherwise, if you lose your third tight end, you can't run any of that stuff. Although they don't really do a lot of that.
Here's one for you, Gonzalez, the kicker. They're not gonna kick him.
Oh, good one. I like it. Holden says, I'll be at the Jags game this year. Gotta meet you, G. I'll be there too. We'll talk. Justin Lomker says, here's $2. Thank you. Oh, is it possible Kyle gets his 2-quarterback system?
I hope not. I don't like that personally. I really don't like that. I'm not a fan of that.
Bring in Brock for the red zone?
Yeah, nah. I hope not. I mean, he tried it. It seemed like there was pushback when he tried it when Jimmy, Trey's first year, and it actually looked really good. But me personally, I'm just that you're basically saying one of these guys can't do what the other guy can do, and I don't just play.
I wouldn't write it off. It seems like Kyle could do this. He doesn't like making big decisions at quarterback. Yeah. And this could be one of his ways to just kind of get out of making a decision. You know what?
Yeah.
We play both of them. We're going to play Darnold too. Everyone gets to play on this team because I can't make a decision. Yeah. Corey Soto says, I think we'll see a hybrid to start. And if Lance sticks and BP is out indefinitely, they gradually fully integrate Lance-specific offense. I just don't think going heavy quarterback run early in the year helped anyone. And maybe you might want to look, if you're afraid of Trey Lance throwing the ball early in the year, then let him hand off. You don't need him to run. You have like 8 guys who are going to get more yards per carry than him on the team right now.
If you bring in Brock Purdy to throw the ball, that you're saying Trey Lance can't throw the ball, so you're wasting your time. If you don't think he can throw the ball, get him out of there.
Should Trey get a hair replacement? It did looks great. Nah, man,
a fade.
Yeah, just get a fade. Just own it.
Yeah.
Things I don't like for athletes and famous artists. Once they get famous, when they start getting hair transplants or orthodontia, nah, man, now you're not relatable. Now you just look like every other celebrity, man. You got to keep them crooked teeth, baby. You got to keep them snaggle teeth. Come on. Yeah. You got to keep them. One thing you can promise from me is that I will never get famous enough to fix my teeth. I will keep these snaggle teeth for life. Now, I do want to whiten them at some point because damn. But you can trust that I'm never going to do that.
Yeah.
I don't like the look.
No.
I don't know. You gotta. Who do you think you are? Should Trey get hair? No. Okay.
Figure it out.
Last question. You think the Niners will ever trade 3 first-round picks for one player ever again?
Yes.
Yeah.
I think they would. I don't think they learn
scared
much.
off.
I think if the right.
Yeah, they don't learn. They don't learn from their mistakes. What? Not calling Trey a mistake, but
Right.
damn.
If the right opportunity presented itself, I think they would. I mean, not necessarily the right opportunity, but something they think is a right opportunity. I don't think they.
Also, it's a good double down opportunity too. It says it's not that we did something wrong.
Right.
We did it right. The process was money, even though the whole NFL world is watching the Niners being like, what process did you use with Trey Lance here? What is the process again? But they're going to be like, oh, no, our plan was good. We didn't do anything wrong. We're going to do it again. I could totally see. Yeah, that's the Niners. And that's who the Niners are, essentially. They are the double down team of the NFL. They come close. They're going to learn. There's a lesson to be learned, and they say, not for us. Yeah, no. Yeah. Moving forward, doing the same stuff.
Yeah, I mean, they traded. What did they trade? 4 picks for McCaffrey. Not first, but they traded 4, right, for McCaffrey. So if they see the guy they really want, they'll do it again if they need to. Hopefully, they never need to, but they probably would.
They could do it next year. They could trade 3 first-round picks for Kirk Cousins.
Oh my gosh, that would be horrible. Yeah, that would be horrible.
You're just a Kirk Cousins hater. No. Ethan M says Santa Clara has great food, and that's about it. I mean, yeah, it's got all the chains. So it's got Ruth's Chris. It's got Fleming's. It's got Chick-fil-A. It's got Five Guys. It's got In-N-Out. So yeah, I mean, if you want to get the best chains, you could go there. But
man, there's so much better food at smaller places and less expensive.
It's the Bay. You don't need to.
If you guys ever fly to Hawaii, don't spend all the money we went to all those expensive places. Don't do that. Go to the small mom and pop place.
Did you go to Benihana?
No.
Kyle, please don't use Trey Lance as a running back anymore.
I think that I have a feeling he's still gonna run, just not quite as much. I think that's.
You just got to be more strategic and less predictable with it. You want to run your quarterback who's a dual threat, but everyone saw it coming.
Right.
got to be a little bit better, and you got to protect him a little bit better.
If
the Eagles can do it, yeah, choose your moments. Get a little bit more out of it. Mr. Bell says Trey needs the Rick Ross look. What is the Rick Ross look?
I don't know.
Big beard?
Bald. Just bald.
Bald.
Oh. Yeah, it's just completely skin bald.
Yeah, I mean, he can do whatever look I don't really care about his look at this point.
Yeah, me neither.
He needs to, like, play better. You know, one thing I will give him credit for, though, like, that I kind of didn't rub me the wrong way about him, but made me feel like he wasn't quite mature enough to do what he needed to do. All this Instagram posting in the past couple of years, you know, it made me feel like, dude, like, yeah, your DMs are blowing up with a bunch of good-looking women because you're the quarterback of the Niners and you're a good-looking guy, but, like, dude, like, you got to focus, man. And this year it feels like he's super focused. You don't see him posting, like, he went to his trip in Hawaii, which is cool, but essentially he's not a big social media guy this offseason, which I think is a good thing. I think it's a good thing. A lot of his social media posts are like him in a new outfit looking at his phone. Like, dude, you're not a male model. Stop with that stuff.
Yeah. One thing about Trey that I got to give him credit for is he has received a shit ton of hate, and he's never once, like, addressed it ever.
Nope. Yeah. He's been above it the entire time.
Yeah.
Everyone telling him what to do or what to do differently or why he's not good enough or this and that. And he's like, man, I'm sitting on start 5. Would you chill?
Yeah.
Yeah. Hawaii food truck, says Mr. Bell. I haven't been to Hawaii since 2002.
Hawaii food truck, man. Garlic shrimp, boy. Nothing better than that.
Garlic shrimp?
Yeah.
All right. I'm looking forward to it. Well, that's the show. That's it. The whole show and nothing but the show. It's been a long one.
Yes,
Thanks,
sir.
Ryan.
Yeah,
what you got going on the rest of the day?
Just, grinding, doing real estate. Make sure if you guys could please come subscribe to the channel. That would be much appreciated. I'm trying to get to 5K before the season starts. I need your help.
Yeah, go subscribe to Ryan's channel. What I want to say. Oh, Larry is off today. He's working on the radio, so I'll catch up with him tomorrow. But I have like a special guest today at 5:00. Jason Hurley. If you know Niners Twitter at all, he's the cap guru.
Yeah.
So we're going to be asking him. I have like 5 or 6 questions, burning questions about, because I don't understand how the freaking cap works. I haven't taken math since 2006, and I wasn't even that good at math in 2006. Yeah. So we're going to be asking him, and then any questions you guys have, feel free as well.
Hurley knows his stuff, man. Yep.
Gaiman Brown says, what happens if Bosa Ward go down with an injury? How insulated against injuries is the D-line and secondary? How many games will Eric and Trent play? If Bosa goes down, I don't know. Saleh had a top 5 defense without Bosa in 2020, so see what Wilkes can do. There's a lot of talent in this team.
Yeah.
But they don't have Verrett.
It's gonna be
Eric
tough.
and Trent. Trent, I would put the over-under at
I'd say
14 and a half.
Yeah,
15 and a half. Yeah, 15 would be the guess. And then Armstead, I feel like what happened with Armstead was he got hurt in camp and never really rounded into shape until training camp. Also, part of me feels like he kind of load manages at this point in his career. Like, he's going to ball out in the postseason when he gets there, but any given week, he could just totally disappear. I think he's a load manager.
Eric is one guy that I'm really hoping has a good season, because it's been a little bit disappointing, especially for what they're paying him. And if he has another season like he did this year, I don't know how long he's going to be around.
My take on Eric is that he can be the most dominant player on the field when he wants to be. And I think he wants to be 3-4 times a year. And he wants to be in the playoffs. And he's had some dominant performances in the playoffs. But there's too many times where you have a week and you're like, wait, did Armstead do anything today? And you look at the box score and you're like, no, he didn't do anything. Like, what the hell was that?
Yeah.
Which is crazy because he has it in him. I mean, like, Buckner to me was just a machine and a model of consistency. Like, he had the same game every week. Every freaking week, he had the same game.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah. Hoping.
Thanks for watching the show.
Yeah, man.
I'll be back tonight. Go subscribe to Ryan right now. See you later.